Is that the Tandy Center?
Maybe the Tandy Center.
That's one of that's the Tandy Center on the southmost tower. It looks like there, Jane, and that of course has a shopping mall on the first 3 floors of that building, and then offices all through there.
Okay, Scott Gordon is standing downtown. Scott, tell us where you are in relation to the Tandy Center, and what do you have?
Well, Jane, we're just west of downtown Fort Worth. We're at the corner of 7th and University. You can see a lot of the flashing lights over my shoulder. The police are trying to seal off downtown Fort Worth so they can get all these emergency crews in right now. We shot a lot of videotape in the last hour or so. I'd like to show you some more of that, beginning with an interview with the man who tells us what he saw. Let's go to that now.
Oh, I got caught in it.
Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, it just blew all the windows out of the car.
You blew all your windows out of your car?
Yeah.
What happened, man? You just driving along?
Yeah, I was right in here. It must have come right through here. I don't want to do it again. I got to get.
Downtown Fort Worth taking a direct hit tonight. As we reported earlier, hundreds and hundreds of windows in virtually every big building downtown, every skyscraper just blown apart, and glass filling the streets with a lot of other debris. Traffic lights blown down, along with a lot of other things just blown apart. A number of people injured, both in the downtown library, where we talked to a man who was clutching his young daughter, and he said that they were okay, but that there were a number of other people injured there. We also talked to the driver of a city bus who, when this thing blew through, was right on the edge of it, and said that they all took cover, but a number of people were injured on that city bus with scrapes and cuts. Nothing too serious, thank goodness, at this point. But we are showing you this video, raw tape, as we shot it. Let's see if we can go back to some more. Right there, you see the man that I was just telling you about who was in the library with their young daughter. Let's listen in.
Library. Just the windows blew out, and there was just chaos for a few minutes, and glasses everywhere. There's like sheetrock, dust everywhere, so it looked like smoke. So everybody kind of started freaking out and running around, hooting and hollering, and
Grabbed onto your little girl?
Yeah, immediately. I mean, as soon as people started yelling, screaming, we picked up and headed downstairs to the library, where glasses everywhere and people are running around. There's some hurt people, kids.
Where are the hurt people at?
They should be in the library. I think there's some medics down there. Yeah, but there's some. My name's Mark.
Nothing?
Lawyer.
Lawyer?
Yeah.
Okay, there was that man that I was telling you a little bit earlier, Mike and Jane. Right now you can hear the emergency sirens as police and fire trucks continue to roll into this downtown Fort Worth area. We're looking live now at some of the pictures a little closer in downtown. I'm sorry, this is videotape, I believe, shot just a short time ago of some of the emergency medical personnel arriving on the scene. Very much still an emergency situation in downtown Fort Worth right now. It's not raining at this point, luckily, but firefighters, as you mentioned, are doing a building-to-building search, trying to make sure that there aren't more injured people trapped in some of these buildings.
All right, Scott, right now we have another man on the phone with us. Steve Wilhite is down by the Bass Hall. We're going to go over to David first. David, go ahead.
Okay, Krista just brought me some new information here. I want to go back to the radar. We just had reports here in Dallas, this is in the Oak Cliff area, continuous green flashes, which would indicate a tornado on the ground. And this is visible at Illinois Street there, just east of I-35. So this is a very dangerous area. There is evidently a tornado on the ground in the Oak Cliff area. Everyone in that vicinity, take cover immediately. A very dangerous situation. The green flashes indicate power lines coming down, and that means either a tornado or winds strong enough to bring the power lines down. But the way things have been going this evening, we will assume this is a tornado. Take cover immediately. A very dangerous storm situation extending southward all the way down now through DeSoto and Lancaster, and this is continuing to move on towards the east. We've had reports in Arlington. The Human Resources Building has the windows broken out, and continuing to get reports of damage back here in Arlington as well as in Fort Worth, and I'm sure we'll be seeing reports of damage in parts of South Dallas as well. Now I want to go back to the county map, show you the warnings that are currently in effect, bring you up to date there. The flash flood warning still in effect in Tarrant County, but the danger of tornadoes is over at this time. Tornado warning still in effect in Dallas County. That's primarily the region from downtown southward that is of most concern. Severe thunderstorm warnings down here in Ellis and Navarra counties, as well as down in McLennan County, and another one up here in Clay County to the northwest. You could see the storms rumbling in a little earlier this afternoon, erupting right over Fort Worth. See the development here now as it moves into Dallas. This is the latest NEXRAD imagery, and you can see what appears to be some wrapping here as it comes in across Grand Prairie and into the Oak Cliff area. We'll go ahead and take a look at the radial velocity display. And again, this is a little confusing, but when you see the red and the green here in close proximity, that tends to indicate that you are getting some rotation, and that is the area south of downtown, down into the Oak Cliff area. And from the report we had on the green flashes, it appears that it is now moving east of I-35 into the Oak Cliff vicinity. In addition, we're getting prodigious amounts of rain. The estimates of rainfall, looking at the NEXRAD radar, shows the heaviest band of rain coming in through Parker County and then right across, right along Loop 820. Remember, the tornado was tracking along this line with that hook wrapping around it. All the heaviest rain was on the north side of the tornado, with kind of a void on the south side where the rainfall was not nearly as heavy. But along Loop 820 and then down here on the east side of 820 and on into Arlington, extremely heavy rains on the order of 3 to possibly 4 inches in a few locales. So we do have flash flood warning still in Tarrant County. This is now moving on into Dallas, where there is a flood warning in addition to the tornado warning, which of course is our prime concern at this point. Let's check back to the desk with Mike and Jane.
Alrighty, right now on the telephone with us is Steve Wilhite. He's in downtown Fort Worth near the Bass Hall, which is on the east side of the downtown proper area. Steve, tell us exactly what you saw and where you were when you saw it. Steve, you there?
Yes.
Okay, Steve, can you tell us, first of all, locate yourself for us.
Rooftop of the Gaines Co. Insurance Company right next door to Bass Hall at 4th and Commerce.
Uh-huh.
Pretty awesome sight. I'm looking right at the Bank One building, and it looks to me like probably 80% of the windows are blown out of that thing. Of course, there's strobe lights going off everywhere. But here on our rooftop, there are draperies that have blown out over here from other offices, and there are pieces of trim off of buildings. There are ceiling tiles. There's broken glass covering the top of our building, and on the top of this building we have potted trees and shrubs, and there are trees and shrubs over. We've got a couple of broken glasses. It's a pretty awesome sight. Rooftop, and I look down to the street and see the debris. It looks like a landfill.
Steve, exactly where were you when the storm came through, and what did you see and hear at the time?
I was on the 5th floor of the Gaines Co. building. It's a 7-floor building in a file room, and there was heavy hail that started hitting the windows very strong, and then the windows started bowing back and forth, and so we took cover for a bit underneath the stairwells at that time.
Steve, were you scared to death? Have you ever been through anything like that?
Never been through anything like it, and I guess because I don't really know the seriousness of it until I walk out here on this rooftop now and see all of the buildings surrounding us with windows busted out, and particularly the Bank One building that just looks like something out of a movie. That's like an explosion went off inside of it and just blew out all the windows.
Yeah, now you are near, by the way, the Bass Hall, aren't you?
And the sirens and such.
You're near the Bass Hall. Can you tell us what damage has been done to that?
Looking over right now at the Bass Hall, my first concern were all those beautiful angels on the front of the building, because I love those. But I'm looking at those and the trumpets and all, and they look fine. I don't see any broken glass at Bass Hall. But our building probably, helped to shield that building.
Mm-hmm. All right, Steve, thank you very much for calling. We appreciate the information. We're going to go back now to Scott Gordon, who's live just west of downtown. Scott, you have some new information?
Well, Jane, one thing that we're trying to track right now is the number of people who have been injured tonight here in downtown Fort Worth. Any firm numbers are very difficult to come by, as you might expect, because the emergency crews are still working, and this is very much, they're in the middle of this situation right now. But we do know that some people were hurt at the downtown library, as I've been mentioning, and also at in a city bus on the edge of downtown. We talked with that bus driver about what exactly happened, and she described what happened on that city bus.
Y'all just broke out of the bus.
Can you start again?
Just as we were coming here, we saw something black moving quickly, come straight back toward us. I got the brake up, pulled up just in time for all of us to get off the bus and run and hide. I got one passenger who had a broken arm and a broken leg, about 5 with bad, severe lacerations. rest of everyone had small cuts and bruises. Okay. It was scary. I'm okay. Shooken up, okay.
And there are a lot of people shaken up in downtown Fort Worth, as you might expect. Now, right after we talked to that woman, we also talked to another bus driver. We're playing this tape, playing this raw tape for you as we're feeding it back, so bear with us. This is live TV, and we're giving you the best information as quickly as we can. But let's go right now, if we can, to the interview with that second bus driver who told us what he saw.
I was at a distance. I was over off of South University. Well, it was just a big black funnel cloud just mushrooming up from the bottom. It was frightening.
All right, that's what he told us. We also shot, following those interviews with those two bus drivers, some more of the damage that shows you just how extensive the damage is here in downtown Fort Worth tonight. You can see a lot of the windows that have been blown out of the big skyscrapers, hundreds if not thousands. I think thousands is a much better approximation. Thousands of windows blown out from top to bottom of all the big buildings in downtown Fort Worth tonight. It'll be amazing if there aren't more injuries that we even know about at this point. Mike and Jane?
Glass in this kind of situation is probably the biggest danger to a lot of people, and certainly there were people downtown tonight in some of those buildings.
That's the Bank One building right there, Jane, where the Riata restaurant at the top. Let's take a look at it. It looks like it's been through a war zone in Beirut.
It's incredible. A lot of the people were warning us that a lot of the glass is still falling. A lot of the windows only partially blown out, and so as you might expect, glass is still falling out of the windows, and that is a danger, a big danger right now to people on the sidewalk and to the emergency workers trying to get to those injured.
You know, and we need to say this, Scott, you know, a lot of people do get curious and they want to go down and see these kind of things for themselves, but you can judge from the pictures that this is not the place to be.
No, downtown Fort Worth is not the place to be tonight. No.
All right, Scott, hang on there for just a minute. We're going to go by telephone now to Dan Monroe. Dan is the father of someone who is in our newsroom right now, Danette Monroe. She's one of our associate producers. Dan, you saw some transformers blow?
Well, excuse me, I was on I-20 heading eastbound on I-20 between 360 and Matlock, and straight line wind came. The rain hit hard. It stopped all the traffic in our tracks, and it was blowing so hard that there was a pickup in front of me off to the left that at one point in time I could see it almost rise up on two wheels on its side and then settle back down again. During that time, there was a large blue flash in front, and later as the wind passed, it took about 7 or 8 minutes, and these big 50-gallon orange lane separators were blowing around like trash paper, banging against everything. Anyway, as we continued to drive forward after it passed, one of the major power lines went down on I-20. It still is down, to my knowledge, as of about 20 minutes ago, and cars are driving over. I drove over probably 6 or 7 power lines, and I'm sure they're dead. I sure hope they are now. But and also within at that area between Matlock and 360, I counted 5 semi-trailer trucks blown over on their side.
Wow. Dan, if you can hold on for just a minute, Krista Villarreal is back with us again, and she has an update for us. Krista?
Well, I did want to update you on a new tornado warning for Navarro County until 8:15 p.m. National Weather Service radar detecting a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado near Rice. Just southeast of Rice, actually, moving east-southeast at 20 miles an hour. I'd like to also tell you about some continuous green flashes and what appears to be a very strong mesocyclone, although it is wrapped in rain, so it will be very difficult to see anything, but very capable of producing a tornado. This is going to be in the Duncanville area. It's going to be just west of Robinson Road, the entire cell moving eastbound. I don't have a speed on that, but that's in Duncanville, just west of Robinson Road. Then I have another funnel just reported north of Fort Worth Avenue, west of the Trinity River, south of I-35 in southern Dallas. This is another funnel being reported, not a tornado at the moment, but a funnel cloud being reported just north of Fort Worth Avenue, west of the Trinity River in South Dallas, south of I-35, and also in the 3800 block of Loop 12. The closest crossroad would be Westmoreland. Major flooding and cars apparently trapped in floodwaters. That's in the 3800 block of Loop 12. So if you are on Loop 12 anywhere close to Westmoreland, you'd want to take extreme caution in your car and not become the next car trapped in that floodwater situation. And we're going to go ahead and go back to David in the Weather Center.
Okay, Krista, we'll just point out a little more graphically here the image that you mentioned down in the Duncanville area. That is shifted eastward down through Lancaster, the same community that was devastated by a tornado 7 or 8 years ago. And you can see the circulation here. This certainly looks to be Hook Echo. That would be right in this vicinity, the southeast side of Lancaster, coming on down maybe in a direction. This is I-45 here, so coming down in a direction that would carry it towards maybe just north of Red Oak and over towards Ferris during the next few minutes. We're going to see very heavy rains in the wake of the tornadic winds. We've had reports of 360 closed down at Abrams, so people are not getting through there because of a combination of high water and debris from damage of different structures and floodwater debris that has flown across the road. So 360 closed down there at Abrams in Arlington. We've had numerous other reports of high water. By all means, stay home. Don't try to get out and go see any of this. We will be bringing you pictures throughout the evening. Let's take a look at one of our WeatherNet sites real briefly, because I want to show you some of the kind of rainfall that we've been getting in the area. If we can look at our WeatherNet site in Lake Dallas, they're just showing 1 inch of rain at the moment, but we know that it has been heavier than that in some portions of North Texas. Flash flood warnings still in effect in Tarrant and Dallas counties. We now have tornado warnings for southern Dallas County and for Navarro County in the vicinity of Rice. So we'll continue to bring you update on these storms. Now back to the desk.
Okay, David, we have a couple of important pieces of information to pass along to people right now. The police have called us and asked us to please tell people do not drive near anywhere around downtown Fort Worth right now. There's a huge cleanup effort underway. They are trying to locate people who may be missing right now. Please watch what's happening on your television, but do not go anywhere near downtown Fort Worth. This is very important. Also, if you are in the path of the storm right now, WRR is broadcasting our signal. So if you're in the path of the storm and if you lose your electricity and if you have a battery-operated radio, you can get WRR on the radio. They're broadcasting our signal. They are going to stay with our signal. That's, of course, 101 FM, 101.1 on your FM dial.
Right. And, Jane, we're just getting word now that sirens are going off in the Pleasant Grove area of Dallas. David's just stepped back in. Let's check in with him real quick. Again, that's an indication that, again, a tornado is possibly in the area.
Right. That's exactly what I was getting ready to point out. We just got word from the Racy Storm Spotters that we do have indications of that sirens going off in Pleasant Grove. That's the area just east of Oak Cliff, which we've been reporting tornadic activity for the last half hour or so. Here's the tornado watch that extends until 10 p.m. A new one has been issued down here into central Texas as well. We are not alone in the severe weather. It extends from central Oklahoma all the way down to San Antonio. And the bad news is this isn't all of it. There are more storms developing now back to the west. We could have another round of equally strong storms later this evening or tonight. So it's not just a one shot and it's over. This is a very dangerous situation which will continue for many hours. I want to go back to the radar again. We mentioned the warnings there in the Pleasant Grove area. That would be in this locale. It appears that the strongest cell, though, is to the south of Pleasant Grove, coming in towards 45 and approaching the Wilmer-Hutchins area and then on down towards Red Oak. So that would appear to be the greatest danger, but certainly we have had the sirens going off, and there may certainly be reports of green flashes up here. I haven't heard any recently, but we know when it crossed 35 at Illinois, there were reports of green flashes indicating a tornado on the ground there. So we have yet to get any ground reports out of the Oak Cliff area about what kind of damage may have occurred there or in Grand Prairie, but we do know the track of a damaging storm moved across that region. And again, let me reiterate, if you were in the path of one of these storms, take cover and get away from windows. Those pictures of the downtown skyscrapers, just one of the best visual aids I've ever seen in the danger of glass. You can see those jagged shards of glass, and as Scott Gordon reported, some of those still dropping out of the skyscrapers. Imagine that falling 40 stories and hitting you. This is now this one is not quite so bad. That's tempered glass there, and you can see how it shattered. The shards of pointy glass are the ones that are most dangerous. And again, this is just a very dangerous situation. The structures in downtown Fort Worth appear to be secure. The steel and concrete didn't go anywhere, but the glass sure did. And that's why we say if you're in the path of a tornado, get away from the windows, get to the interior part of the building. All those downtown buildings are standing. but if you were standing next to a window, you could be decapitated. That's the kind of danger we're facing in a situation like this. Now, it doesn't appear that downtown Dallas has been hit nearly as hard, but from Oak Cliff down through Pleasant Grove to Lancaster and now on into the Wilmer-Hutchins area, very dangerous storm. Tornado warning still in effect there in southeastern Dallas County. Mike and Jane?
Well, and it's that glass, David, that Jane was just mentioning a while ago. The police department says don't go to downtown Fort Worth because it is a mess. You've seen the pictures. In fact, we're going to take you back downtown right now to Suzelle Spiller. She's over at Henderson and Belknap Street, which is pretty close to dead center to where this tornado started its path through downtown Fort Worth. Suzelle?
That's right, Mike. That's what we're hearing here. A lot of witnesses said they saw the funnel cloud come through this area. We're just west of downtown Fort Worth and west of NBC's 5 Scott Gordon, who we heard from earlier. And this is the damage that we're seeing. Take a look at this signal light. This is what's left of it here at Henderson and Belknap. You can see it right here on the ground. And we've got a Fort Worth police officer here trying to direct traffic. Earlier, there was a citizen trying to direct traffic. Police officers here now, and you can see the traffic. People still getting out of work. On my way down here, I even saw some people just coming out of buildings trying to get home after taking shelter during the storm. Let's take a look at one of the buildings, the Bank One building here up here. You can see those white lights flashing. Those are fire alarms going off. Some people are still in their office buildings, still trying to get out. This is one of the buildings where you're talking about the windows were shattered and the glass is still falling in an area. Very dangerous situation down here. You can see some of the damage. It took very powerful winds to take this down. So police are asking folks to stay out of this area, stay out of downtown Fort Worth. A lot of emergency vehicles trying to get through here. We've seen a number of ambulances and police vehicles just trying to get through and make sure everybody's okay and take the injured to the hospital. Reporting live, Suzelle Spiller, NBC5, west of downtown Fort Worth.
All right, thank you very much, Suzelle. We're going to go over to Scott Gordon right now, who is also standing by near downtown Fort Worth. Scott, what do you have?
Well, Jane, we are just west of downtown Fort Worth at 7th and University. You can see a lot of the emergency vehicles still rolling into downtown Fort Worth from other parts of the city right now. We do know that there are a number of injuries in the downtown area, and we know that there are a lot of close calls. We talked to the owner of the Corner Deli right in the Sundance Square area of downtown Fort Worth, and she was telling us about their horrifying experience. Let's listen in on what she told us.
Did you see what happened? This is Channel 5. They want to know what happened. What happened?
Well, we just heard lots of wind and rain, and then we looked out the window and the sirens were on, and we could see the debris flying around above about where First Methodist is. And I sent everybody, all the customers and help, and we got in our walk-in cooler.
You ever got in the walk-in cooler? Is everybody okay?
Yes, everybody's fine.
What was going through your head when you saw all this happening?
I've been through it before. It was in Paris, Texas, when it happened in Paris, Texas. So just stay calm and get everybody safe, and everything else is just things.
You were here?
Yeah.
Scott, we'll come back to you in just a minute. We need to go over to David Finfrock right now in the Weather Center. David, what do you have?
Okay, we've gotten some confirmation now down out of South Dallas County. This storm here moving across I-45. This is one of our official RACE spotters, and he says that he spotted a tornado. This was in Wilmer just a few minutes ago. Green flashes, highly visible, so it was on the ground taking down some power lines as it moved through the Wilmer vicinity. It's now just east of 45, tracking down maybe towards the Seagoville vicinity. So immediately take cover in that area from Wilmer, Hutchins to Seagoville, Balk Springs, this area. That is a highly dangerous situation. We know there is a tornado on the ground there. And look at this one. This is the one down in in the Navarro County area, just north of Corsicana. It was reported earlier near Rice. It is moving through the northeastern corner of Navarro County, and that area fairly lightly populated, which is good news, but this is not good news. That's a good solid hook developing there. This one looks more and more dangerous, and it is moving again towards the east, so this one could be affecting the residents around Cedar Creek Lake. Very dangerous situation developing there, so we're going to continue to watch this one. We've got a tornado warning still for the southeastern section of Dallas County and for the northeastern portion of Navarro County at this time. Both of those extremely dangerous storms. As we get that latest sweep, the hook looks to be even better defined. This one perhaps even a stronger storm than the one up here between Wilmer and Seagoville. This could be a very dangerous storm. Fortunately, at the moment, in an area with not too many residents, but headed towards the Cedar Creek Lake area where there are a lot of people. So be prepared. We will probably see a warning going out there in the Cedar Creek vicinity and then maybe headed on towards Athens during the next hour. So we'll watch this one very closely. I don't know, Scott Gordon may still have some more information for us. We had to break away from him there. Let me go back to Jane and Mike.
All right. In fact, we're going to go back out to Scott just a second. Over at I-20 and Collins Street, Jane, they say the mobile station there is no more. Scott Gordon, of course, is west of downtown Fort Worth over in the University area. Scott, you have more for us.
Well, Mike, before we had to cut away to David for that weather information, we were hearing from the owner of the Corner Deli in the Sundance Square area of downtown Fort Worth, and she was telling us how she and the customers ran into the walk-in cooler as the storm blew through, as the tornado hit, and the glass shattered everywhere. As I mentioned, there are a lot of very close calls. These are some pictures from that Corner Deli. I believe that's a live shot we're looking at. I'm sorry. We also have some video we can show you in just a minute. There we go. That's the Corner Deli. Look at that. All the windows just blown apart. If those customers didn't do what they did and huddle in that walk-in closet, you can imagine there would have been a lot more injuries than there are. So Mike and Jane, a lot of close calls here in downtown Fort Worth tonight. As we mentioned, an unknown number of injuries at this point.
Yeah, that was a very smart move for those people. With us on the telephone right now is a friend of ours, Ernie Horn. And Ernie, you say that you were in your car. Where were you? What did you see?
Well, actually, I was in my office, Jane, and
I see.
It was like two locomotives coming up West 7th Street out of the Trinity River, and all of a sudden it's like they just exploded. It took the roof on all the windows and the walls of my building, and I was able to get a friend of mine, a street person, and one of my employees. We just dove in the stairway, and just the grace of God, we were saved. But across the street, the credit union, it was just, destroyed. Catty Corner, Calgary Cathedral Fortress of a church right on the banks of the Trinity River was just destroyed. It looks like a nuclear bomb hit it.
When you say destroyed, Ernie, when you say that church was destroyed, tell us exactly what you mean.
Well, the walls, all the roofs off, laying down 5 or 6 blocks. I'm about halfway between where Scott Gordon is doing the stand-up and downtown, and it actually just hit the ground right at the Trinity River, right at the Trinity River Bridge, and came right up 7th Street, and the credit union building's across the street from my office on Penn Street, and it was just devastating. The one thing I'd say is going east, there may be another one coming, thank God for stairways, and please beg the people just to stay away from these wires, even though they look dead. There's just grave danger through this whole area.
And, of course, that's what the warning is from the Fort Worth Police Department. Stay away from downtown. And for those that have no business out on the street, just to look, turn your television where it is right now and just keep watching or listen to WRR 101.1 on your FM radio. We'll tell you what it looks like. We'll show you what it looks like on television. There's absolutely no reason for anybody to be walking around downtown unless you live there or you are helping clean this up and have been asked to be down there. What you're looking at right now, Ernie, we're going to put you on hold for just a sec, and David's going to give us kind of a preview here. That hooked looking red spot on the dead center bottom of your screen is the storm that is approaching into the Corsicana area, David. And then also you've got your storm tracker up there, Dave.
Right,
Can you tell us what you're expecting
taking a look at the NBC5 storm tracker once again. I wanted to mention this storm in the Wilmer-Hutchins area is sliding on towards the east at this time, and it has prompted a tornado warning now for Kaufman County. The southeastern corner of Dallas County remains under a warning. This is right in the Seagoville vicinity, and that cell moving on towards the east, drawing a bead on Kaufman at the present rate of movement to the east at about 35 miles per hour. Should be into Combine around 8:09, Crandall at 8:15, coming into Kaufman right around 8:30. So we do now have a tornado warning for the southern half of Kaufman County as well as that southeast corner of Dallas County. And then here's the other big one down here to the northeast of Corsicana. Corsicana evidently in the clear, but this one sliding to the east-southeast. It would appear that it would be down towards the dam at the south end of Cedar Creek Lake that you would have the greatest danger. Certainly there will be heavy rains and maybe some hail up at the north end of the lake, but with the location of the hook and the direction it's moving, it would probably be more down towards the dam, and eventually, if it holds together, could perhaps threaten Athens. We'll be watching that one very carefully, but for now the NBC5 Storm Tracker focused in on this cell, which does seem to indicate, again, the tornado on the ground headed through Seagoville at this time and moving on over towards Kaufman during the next half hour. We'll continue to update you with the latest on the radar imagery, and again, urge you, if you are in the path of these storms, take cover immediately. This is an extremely serious situation. Probably the worst weather night we have seen in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, certainly since that May 5th, 1995 storm, and it could turn out to be worse. We don't know the entire story yet.
All right. Thank you very much, David. We're going to show you some video that is just coming in. We haven't seen this before, so we're going to show you. We're looking at it for the first time as you are. This appears to be the funnel cloud right there. David, jump in here.
Yeah, the very clear funnel cloud there when it was out wider. You can definitely see it. Now, that's something we could not see earlier when we were looking from our cameras in downtown Fort Worth. We saw the green flashes, but from our vantage point, you could not see the clear funnel. There, we did. I don't know the source of this video.
Well, this was shot by Scott Gordon's crew.
Maybe we can back that up and we can take another peek at that again if we can. Again, this is live video, so
yeah, I don't know if they can find out when they shot that.
Mark, do we know when that was shot?
I would assume that was from the team that was out on the Jacksboro Highway earlier and moved into.
And there's your jagged glass.
There's the jagged glass. That's the dangerous kind. That tells you why you should have tempered glass and why they always have that in automobile windshields. The tempered glass just breaks into bits. It can sting, but it won't slice you to ribbons like that jagged regular glass will. But that was a clear indication. The best picture we have had of the funnel, we could certainly see from our vantage point earlier the swirling
David,
clouds.
there's the funnel
there
again.
It is. Yeah, no doubt about it. You can see it coming all the way down to the ground, and I imagine if they left the camera there long enough, you would see some green flashes developing.
In fact, you do.
Yeah, some of it's hard to tell whether it is lightning or green flashes, but there probably is some of both in that image, but a clear indication of the funnel cloud. I believe this was from the crew that was out on Jacksboro Highway in 820 looking back towards town, so they would have been on the back side of it and could see it from there. From the downtown region, we couldn't pick it out. I think because of the strong winds and the rain in front of it, it was shielding us from seeing the funnel.
Dave, on the telephone with us right now is Dan Shiner, who's the police chief of Lancaster, and of course the storm is drawing a bead right now on your area.
Well, actually it has moved through Lancaster now.
Okay, it's moved through Lancaster.
Let's see if they had any damage.
Mr. Shiner, tell me what you see down there, if you would. Again, this is the police chief of the city of Lancaster. Dan?
Hello?
Yes, are you there, sir?
I can barely hear you.
All right. This is Mike Snyder. If you could possibly describe to us what happened as the storm came through Lancaster there.
Be happy to. We had about 10, 15 minutes of strong weather here. We had hail the size of peas to nickel-size hail. We're doing damage assessment right now, but the worst thing that we're aware of that has occurred is some downed phone lines. We're not aware of any injuries or serious traffic collisions, and everybody's doing well here.
Well, seems to be some good news there then, Chief Shiner. So you didn't see anything like a funnel cloud, or you haven't had any reports of anything like that in Lancaster?
Not in Lancaster at all. We heard of a wall cloud formation in the area of DeSoto from the DeSoto fire chief, and nothing further developed here.
Of course, that area took a hit from tornadoes several years ago and did quite a bit of damage, and it looks like you were able to bypass that this time around. And, of course, not far from there, of course, the damage is being done north and to the west in Fort Worth. We're looking at video here, Chief Shiner, of what happened in Fort Worth today, and, of course, you're not unfamiliar with that kind of damage after the tornadoes hit there.
Well, that's correct, and we're ready and available to help our allied agencies if they need assistance.
Thank you very much, Chief Shiner, for joining us on the telephone. We are getting some reports right now that John Peter Smith Hospital is treating some minor injuries. That's the only report of injuries we have so far from all of this damage in downtown Fort Worth. And it would be amazing to me if we don't have some serious injuries, because downtown Fort Worth, there are a lot of people downtown usually, and of course the evening started out pretty nice this evening, and then watching those shards of glass, as David said, it'll be incredible and wonderful if we don't have some really serious
but like
injuries.
the folks at that corner, that corner deli where I have frequented quite often, the woman who runs the deli hustling everybody into the refrigerator, if you would, the stand-up refrigerator, so that people can be protected. And we heard how many stories of people rushing out of their offices just in the nick of time, out into the hallway, underneath the stairwells, inside those buildings. So it is amazing we have not heard from people who, or heard about massive injuries. We're looking at downtown Fort Worth right now. And
that's
Jane,
in fact a picture of the deli.
Right, that's the deli right there. And the very fact, Jane, is there are people milling around down there. And of course, now that's right over where the new condos are in downtown Fort Worth. So indeed, people do live in downtown again. But please, folks, listen to the heedings of the Fort Worth Police Department. If you do not live downtown, if you do not have a business downtown, the Fort Worth Police Department is asking that you please not come there. Depend on our television pictures to at least show you what it's like. Just to go down to sightsee to see what the tornado has done is unnecessary. We're going to bring you every possible picture that you can need to know what has happened in downtown Fort Worth. We will keep you up to date. There, of course, is the Bank One building with Riata Restaurant on the top of it, Jane.
Okay, and you're talking about the Bank One building. Paul Jones is on the 29th floor of the Bank One building right now. Paul, what's it like in there right now? I mean, it looks like to us that you must have air, all kinds of rain and air blowing through. I mean, it looks like it's practically an open building at this point.
I would say the majority of our windows on the 29th floor are out, either partially or totally, and the ceiling tiles have all been lifted up, and stuff is just blown everywhere. Files. I've talked to some of the accounting firms down on 24. I don't think the people are going to get their tax returns done. It's just there's debris everywhere. It looks like a bomb, like a Lebanon office building or something like that back in the Beirut days.
Up on the top floor there, Paul, of course, is the Riata Restaurant, and from the pictures we saw outside, there were a number of those. Of course, that's on the very top floors of that building, and there were a lot of windows missing up there. Have you heard about any of the patrons or the employees inside that restaurant on top of your building?
I was down at the basement when they were taking head counts and trying to find all their employees, and they seemed to be fairly comfortable at that time that they pretty much accounted for all of them. Although I think some of them had actually gone back up as the storm approached to do some things, but I think they accounted for all of them last I heard.
Paul, when you were in the building and all this happened, how many people were in that building at this hour? What was it, about 6:15? So you would have had office workers and everybody still there. Were people rushing out into the hallways? What was happening?
All of us started. The civil defense siren sounded, and then, 20, 30 minutes later, you could see this thing coming. And all of us went down the stairwell, and I was in the stairwell about one flight down when it actually hit the building, and you could feel it kick up dust and debris in the stairwell, and there were all kinds of people in the stairwell. I don't know how many, whether it was 200 or 300 by the time we all got to the bottom floor of the most of us stayed in the basement or the sub-basement of the building. And then there's falling debris from the building, glass and other stuff, so no one wanted to be anywhere where they weren't protected.
Were people scared? Were they screaming? Was there an amazing amount of calm? Did people realize how serious it was? I think
the ones I empathized with the most and that were the most disturbed were people who had family somewhere else or hadn't been able to contact them or were working somewhere else in the downtown area. And the cleaning crew was in the building. They start making their rounds about that time. So, yeah, a lot of people were, some people were emotionally upset. Most of the others that were down in the basement felt like we were about as safe as we could be.
Were there any injuries in the building to your knowledge?
Not that I know. I saw the security guards for the building on several occasions going in and out and letting people to the parking garage and things like that, and I didn't hear of anything.
Now, the phones are obviously working because you're talking to us from the 29th floor of the building we are looking at right now from our Fort Worth Skycam. And the building is showing, of course, that it does have the power on, but we are looking clean through the building in some places where the windows are missing. You're up on the 29th floor. Are your windows still there?
I would say more than half of our windows are missing. The windows are heavy-duty double-pane glass. A lot of them broke the outer window during the big hailstorm 4 or 5 years ago, but not the inner one, and these are gone all the way through.
Paul, I want to ask you one more question before we go back over to David Finfrock. You said that people were emotionally upset in that building. I mean, I can imagine if that had been me in that building at that hour, I mean, I was thinking of my husband and little boy at home as it was here at the television station. I mean, were people crying? Were they trying to make television, or were they trying to make telephone calls? I mean, describe that for us a little bit more if you can.
Well, a lot of the people have cell phones, and going up and down in the stairwell trying to get out, people were trying to make calls and tell their family they were okay and not to worry. And so some of the cell phones were working and some of them didn't, but there were live phones when we all got down to, there were wired phones when we got down to the banking level and the safe deposit box level. So I saw one lady that was very upset, but by and large that may have been the exception, and I'm sure she had more than justified reason for it.
Alrighty, Paul Jones, one of the many survivors in downtown Fort Worth who weathered this storm literally. And you're on the 29th floor of the Bank One building in downtown Fort Worth, and you saw the pictures for yourself as he described it. It looks like a downtown Beirut after an attack there. Chief Meteorologist David Finfrock back in the Weather Center with an update now. David?
Okay, I want to bring you up to date on what is happening now. Obviously, the worst of the damage has been in Fort Worth, but the thunderstorms have since moved on to the east. There's been a lot of rain and very likely some hail up here. We've hardly even touched on what's been going through North Dallas, up into Collin and Hunt counties, Rockwall County. These areas getting some heavy rain, but we've had no indications of tornadoes or rotation at all. So we've been focusing in on the areas, obviously, that have. And here are the two storms of greatest concern. The one, fortunately, for the folks in Lancaster, it passed by just to their north, evidently, moved down through the Wilmer-Hutchins vicinity over Seagoville, and it appears to be weakening just a little bit as it moves into Kaufman County. This storm, much stronger when it appears now just to the northeast of Corsicana. We do want to focus in here on the latest imagery, and there you can see the last picture still showing the good signs of a hook down here approaching the Cedar Creek Lake area. We've had some tremendous rains, perhaps estimates on the next red radar, 3 to 4 inches in some sections of North Fort Worth up along Loop 820. The heavy rains now spreading on into Dallas, in addition to the problems of the tornadoes and the high winds and the hail, some of which was softball sized earlier this evening out in northwest Fort Worth. We've got flooding rains. Flash flood warnings continue in effect now in Tarrant and in Dallas counties, and those storms continue to build down towards the south. Here I wanted to show you the latest warnings and watches out. This is the tornado watch that continues for the Dallas-Fort Worth area until 10 p.m. The second tornado watch extends on down all the way through Austin to San Antonio. A new severe thunderstorm watch has been posted that covers the rest of East Texas, and that's where these storms are headed. Notice we are still beginning to see some more development back here to the west. Now, maybe we've had enough rain and it's cooled things down enough that will inhibit the development of more severe weather in our area later this evening, but I have a feeling we're going to see some more very strong ones developing back out to the west. We'll just have to see if we get another wave later tonight. For now, let's look at the radar one more time. And there you can see the two biggest cells. This one apparently weakening just a little bit as it moves from Seagoville into Kaufman County. We've still got the tornado warnings in effect there, but since it moved across I-45, where we had some green flashes indicating a tornado taking down power lines, that one appears to have weakened just a tad. This one, though, not showing any signs of weakening. We've still got a well-defined hook here out to the northeast of Corsicana. Cedar Creek Lake lies right in here, and the storm is moving across the lake, but it's on the backside of the storm here where the tornado, if it's still on the ground, is going to be found, and that has not reached the lake yet. So if you're in the Cedar Creek Lake area, especially on the south end down towards the dam, take immediate cover. The worst part of the storm is still on the way, and that will gradually move on eastward towards Athens. So that's the latest on where we stand now. We could certainly see more heavy weather develop later this evening, so stay tuned. We'll keep you updated.
All right, thank you very much, David. We do have a report now from Fort Worth Police that one person has died in Fort Worth tonight. We don't know anything more about it right now, who the person was or what happened, but one person is dead tonight. Deborah Ferguson is in the newsroom right now with more on some of that information. You've been talking with police, Deborah.
Right, and Jane, that is always sad news to have to bring you in any kind of situation. We don't know a whole lot more than what you've already said, and of course we hope that this is the only fatality that comes out of this. We are still getting reports from people in Fort Worth telling their stories about how they weathered through the storm, hiding out in buildings. On a personal note, I spoke to my mom, who lives on the western side of downtown and talked about how she opened her door and it was just a gust of wind coming through. She watched as a tree was uprooted in a neighbor's yard, and of course she got on her knees and prayed that she would be safe. And so a lot of people are thankful tonight that they were not hurt any more than they are. And of course we know at least one family is hurting tonight because of a fatality that has been caused by this storm. Now, as the weather moves east, we are trying to get in touch with police departments and fire departments in the Dallas County area. We heard earlier from the police chief there in Lancaster, who they talked about just some slight damage, some pea-sized hail, some high winds that went through there. I have checked in with the Cedar Hill Police Department, and from what Cedar Hill says, no damage reports of any significance. In Wilmer, the police department there just said that it was a bad storm that moved through, and so far they were not getting any reports of damage. And of course that is good news, and probably one sign maybe that some people are feeling a little bit better is we're getting, Mike and Jane, lots of calls here in the newsroom from people wanting to know if they're going to be able to see Will and Grace tonight. And of course we will continue to stay with the weather coverage as long as people's lives are at stake.
This is real important for all of our viewers, people who are trying to recover from this tonight. And we hope that, and we do know that viewers, we understand that people would like to see their regular programming, but this is very important information for some people who are still in the middle of what's a disaster for them. So we hope you'll bear with us on that.
And when this damage is this kind of widespread, it is a disaster for everyone. And we will stay on the air with David, the entire weather team, as well as our entire news team, until we feel that we have covered this story from stem to stern and kept everybody in the North Texas area safe. And David is back from the Weather Center. Before we go over, we're going to talk to Rhonda Hughes here in just a minute. She's in South Arlington. But David just stepped back into the Weather Center. David, you've got something new and an update here.
Yeah, just want to bring a bit of good news. The weather nets, the official storm spotters, have shut down in Tarrant and Dallas counties, indicating that the severe weather threat is ending for those two areas. Now, that does not mean that it is over for the entire night. They may certainly start it up again later. But at the moment, the severe weather threat has moved out of Fort Worth and out of Dallas. This last little cell down in the Seagoville area drifting into Kaufman County, and doesn't appear to show the dangerous signs of rotation that it did earlier. This one still a very intense storm, but it too beginning to lose a little of the hook echo as it approaches the Cedar Creek Lake area. They're undoubtedly getting some hail and high winds and very heavy rains, but maybe the tornado danger will lessen there. But the official radio amateur civil emergency services, our heroic storm spotters who go out there, volunteer their time and put their lives on the line for all of us. They go out every time we have severe weather just for the situation that has developed here tonight. And they are shutting down that net, indicating that the threat of imminent severe weather is over in Tarrant and Dallas counties. Now, in other counties, it still continues. The nets are up elsewhere, and they will continue to watch it as the storms move through. But for the moment, some good news finally in Fort Worth and Dallas. We can breathe easier for a little while. But remember, there's going to be a lot of flooded streets. We almost always have flash flooding that causes fatalities in our area in a storm of this magnitude. So don't get out and drive tonight. It's just too dangerous with the high water in much of the area and debris in many of the streets around North Texas. So stay home. We'll keep you updated, and as soon as we can get back to our regular programming, we will.
And David, here's a good reason to stay put where you are in the vicinity of I-20 and Collins Street. A number of 18-wheelers overturned. In fact, our Rhonda Hughes is at 360 and I-20 right now. That's in South Arlington, right there on the Dallas-Tarrant line. And Rhonda, what do you see there?
Mike, I can tell you that southbound 360, just north of Interstate 20, is completely shut down right now. It's because one of the large signs that goes over the interstate was blown completely down. Luckily, no one was injured when this massive heap of metal fell to the ground. It was twisted from this storm as it came through. No one was injured, but we can also tell you on 360 northbound, there was an overturned 18-wheeler. Arlington police also reporting on I-20 overturned 18-wheeler, as well as a couple of overturned cars. We also know that there was a pregnant woman, about 8.5 months pregnant, headed on 360 southbound when this storm started coming through. She made it to the interior median, called for help, and emergency crews were just wheeling her to an ambulance when we rolled up on the scene. It looks like everything's going to be okay, but apparently went into contractions as this storm blew through. It was a very powerful storm,
southbound 360 completely shut down, so avoid that area because you won't be going anywhere quickly.
Okay.
Reporting live, Rhonda Hughes, NBC5, back to you.
Well, we'll certainly hope for that woman who was pregnant, and we'll hope that her baby is delivered safely this evening sometime because of all of this. Let's run through some, as we're looking at some pictures right now of downtown Fort Worth, some of the damage that we've got there. Right now, we do have information that one person has died in tonight's storms. We also know that Fort Worth police and emergency workers were searching buildings in downtown Fort Worth. And as you can see, there's good reason to be searching because there's a lot of shattered glass down there. We have reports of some roofs that have caved in. Some other buildings, eyewitnesses have called us and told us that buildings were completely demolished. So right now, emergency workers are searching downtown Fort Worth to try to find people, locate people, and we're bringing you that information as quickly as we get it. Once again, they have asked us to please ask people to stay away from downtown Fort Worth tonight. Do not go near downtown Fort Worth. There's an important rescue operation going on, and obviously, as curious as you might be, that could hamper some really important life-saving work tonight.
Right,
so
at one point there was a
downtown.
report of possibly people trapped inside a building on 7th Street, the 2100 block, but of course that has not been confirmed, and that again validates why people should stay away from downtown. Let the fire department, the police department, and the Federal Emergency Management Agency do its work in downtown Fort Worth and try to get these things handled. Right now, David Finfrock is back from the Weather Center. David, do you have an update?
Yeah, maybe I was sounded a little sign of safety a little too early on that storm down in Navarro County. Let's look at the radar once again. This storm continuing to develop the hook. It looked for a little while like maybe that was weakening. Now it doesn't seem so sure. The hook appears to be redeveloping. So we've still got clear signs of rotation down here. This is east of Corsicana, approaching the south end of Cedar Creek Lake. Moving eastward at about 30 to 35 miles per hour. It should be moving in towards Trinidad and Star Harbor a little after 8:30, heading over towards Malakoff at 8:43. By 9 p.m. it should be into the Athens vicinity, and then heading on over towards Brownsboro and Pointer within the hour. So this is moving towards the east. Very dangerous storm still, showing signs of rotation, and we now have tornado warnings not only for Corsicana or east of Corsicana for the eastern portion of Navarro County, but also for Henderson County as well as this storm continues sliding towards the east. Good news still, though, back here from Seagoville to Kaufman. That cell continues to show signs of weakening, although there are other thunderstorms in the area. This is the one that we are watching most closely right now. It appears that things are quieting down in Fort Worth and Dallas, but the NBC5 storm tracker showing a very dangerous storm moving in across the south end of Cedar Creek Lake, headed towards Athens during the coming hour. So, of course, we'll continue to watch that one very closely.
All righty, David, and we now have confirmation of the extent of damage to the Calvary Baptist Church in downtown Fort Worth. We're just now getting word that the Calvary Academy in downtown Fort Worth school is canceled Wednesday, and we don't know for how long beyond that because of extensive tornado damage there. The prayer tower that operates 24 hours a day at that church destroyed by this storm. It's not there anymore. That's at the corner, not at the corner, but in the 1600 block of West 5th Street, not far from, of course, the Firestone apartment complex that is brand spanking new. You saw the extensive damage there, and the First United Methodist Church, and then immediately to the east of that, the Bank One building, which you have seen, and of course all the other buildings in downtown Fort Worth, Tandy Center, extensive damage down there. And of course we're just now learning the total extent of just how much damage has been done by this storm.
And the search is going on, as we've said, for people downtown, and we're going to keep you abreast of that as quickly as that information comes into us. Right now we're going to go to Clint Bond, who's on the telephone. Clint is our assignments editor, and he is on the highway, I believe, on I-20 in Grand Prairie. Is that right, Clint?
That's right, Jane. I'm in South Grand Prairie, right at I-20 and Great Southwest Parkway, and the damage seems to be just west of me here, just west of the 360 area. I was trying to come back to work, and there is just all the traffic lights are out. Everything west of here is dark. If you know where the Auto Nation is at Great Southwest and I-20, everything west of that is just pitch black. There's no lights at all. So I-20 itself, westbound, is going very slowly, and I see very few vehicles for this time of night coming eastbound on I-20. Now, as I was going north on 360, trying just from from Green Oaks Boulevard southwest, trying to get on I-20, the overhead on-ramp that I take that goes way up over I-20 and over 360 and back down onto I-20 again. I was amazed at the line of cars that were coming off of that. So police have apparently turning traffic around on I-20 and bringing them back off the on-ramp, the overhead on-ramp, and it's a very dangerous situation because as you are going north on 360, there's no police at the bottom of that ramp to direct traffic, and all of a sudden the northbound traffic is immediately faced with southbound traffic coming right at them. So I've talked to a UPS driver who was here at this phone just a few moments ago, and he said there are at least 3 18-wheelers that are flipped over on I-20 just west of here.
All right, so it's at the very least a dangerous traffic situation out there. Clint, stand by for a minute because we have some video that we want to get to quickly now.
Let us take you to our newsroom right now. Stephen Helmstetler, am I getting your name correct?
Helmstetler, Stephen Helmstetler.
Already, very good. And Steve, you got home video of this tornado, is that right?
Yes, my brothers and I are over on Henderson, just north of Fort Worth.
There it is.
Wow.
We'd just eaten at the Mexican Inn Cafe, actually, over there, and stepped out in the parking lot, and the employees started pointing and looking, so I hopped in the car and got the camera out, the digital camera I happen to have, and started rolling tape.
David Finfrock is watching this as we are, and you're seeing it, David, as well. You can jump in here anytime.
Yeah, this is the view that we didn't have before from our vantage point, looking from downtown northward. The debris, the rain shaft in front of it just completely obliterated the view of the funnel, but you can certainly see how clearly defined it was here.
Right, you can
across North Fort Worth.
You could see the debris. You could hear the wind just rushing past.
Now, how far do you estimate you were from the storm?
I would say about half a mile at the most. That's probably being a little generous. Probably closer than that, quarter of a mile to half a mile.
I don't know how you had the nerve to stand there.
Did you see that flash there?
Yeah, we had transformers blowing up. Right. There were, people telling us to keep moving, get going, and we just couldn't resist.
Well, that is some incredible.
Well, we're glad you
video.
couldn't resist because we got some really an amazing video out of it, but I don't know how you stood there.
It's probably some of this debris here that was picked up, that was carried on into downtown Fort Worth, as well as, of course, all the debris that was picked up in downtown itself. But once this is aloft, you can sometimes find debris carried high up into the storm, and they can find it 100 miles away. There have been documented cases of papers taken from people's homes and deposited 100 or more miles away.
Stephen, can you do us a favor? Locate exactly where you're standing as you're taking this video.
We're the Mexican Inn Cafe would be on my left-hand side of Henderson. We're about a tenth of a mile up from the Mexican Inn Cafe on the right side of Henderson. And so we saw what was going on. We realized it was going to be a tornado, so we pulled into looked like an abandoned restaurant or an abandoned old hotel or something there, and hopped out and started setting up the camera. People actually started following us in, asking us where to go, like we had a plan, and we were just there to film. And we said, we don't know what to tell you. We're just here filming, and then they started scrambling back in their cars.
No concern for your safety, just get that video.
Right. Yeah. I guess so. We were just so excited, and we happen to have a public access television show called The Hard Look that starts in Fort Worth real soon, so we happen to have this new camera with us, and we couldn't resist. You can see some good debris there. And
that's an incredible debris field. That's almost like what we've seen out of Oklahoma City, if you remember.
Stephen, what could you hear while we're looking at this? What were you hearing?
Well, I'm going to resist the cliche that it sounded like a freight train, and because I'm not real familiar with freight trains. You can see another transformer there go. But it reminded me if you stood up in a convertible, that wind rushing past your head, just that intense wind blowing past your head. If you stood up on a motorcycle or a convertible, just that sound that you can imagine there.
And as we're watching, David, you see how it looks like the storm is beginning to diminish, or at least the funnel is at least thinning out as it comes across there.
Yeah, part of that could be an optical illusion because you're getting a lot of debris and dust in between you and the camera, and it's hard to see the funnel as clearly. But sometimes they will rope out and then very quickly intensify again. And this one certainly was quite strong as it made it down into the downtown area a little bit later. You can see downtown. You can see the downtown.
Right, just to the left
where the storm is headed. In just the next few minutes. And then our view of it, of course, was from the downtown area live. We caught those images of the debris field coming in. We didn't get to see that clearly defined funnel, but that was just some incredible video of the storm coming in. Now, we still have one very dangerous storm at this time down here in the Cedar Creek Lake area, and it continues to move on towards the east. We've had nothing confirmed on the ground, but there's obviously been a lot of rotation here as the storm traversed northeastern Navarro County and now moves on into the Cedar Creek Lake area and will push on through Henderson County as well. So we still have tornado warnings in effect there in Dallas and Fort Worth. The severe weather is over for now, but again, we can't completely sound the all clear. It's quite possible more storms could redevelop later this evening.
You know, and I guess I wanted to ask Stephen if he saw more than one funnel, because we have been reporting all evening and been watching on the radar numerous hook echoes and numerous reports of funnels, and we thought that there might be one very close to this one. Mm-hmm. Is that not right, David? Almost right behind it as it came through downtown Fort Worth. Either see more than one, or did you see only one?
What I would say is what Mr. Frenfrock was saying a second ago, that it seemed to kind of dissipate and then it reformed. We saw it, either it was the same one coming back or it was just a second one taking its place. But it did seem like there was more than one. There was a small break between the two. And at that point, my tape ran out. I happened to have that camera with me, but I'd used all but 2 minutes of the tape, and I just had 2 minutes left. And the weather was getting bad anyway. We'd started to move toward the car. But, yeah, it did seem like that it dissipated, then it reformed into either a second one or perhaps just the same one. But my brothers, Billy and Travis Helmstettler, were also there with me, and they stood by me bravely, I might add.
I think that's probably about the best usage you could have gotten out of 2 minutes of videotape. Some incredible pictures.
I think so.
All right. Stephen, I have one more quick question to ask you before we let you go. I mean, we've seen, people who will stand by and film a tornado, that kind of thing, in the movie Twister or whatever. I mean, didn't you at some point say, what am I doing? I need to get out of here?
Well, it never got as loud or as scary as I thought it was going to, and so I just kept standing my ground. And then it started to rain, and like I said, that's a new camera, so the camera getting ruined is what first popped in my head. I said, I can't stand here in the rain with this camera because I paid good money for that camera. So that was really what I thought. It never got as intense, and I never felt that I was in real danger for some reason. I guess the adrenaline was flowing.
Well, also it depends on where you are.
Priorities.
It depends on where you are in relation to the tornado. If you see it in the distance and it's moving away from you, then you are probably a little safer taking a picture like this. I'm not going to recommend to anybody to go out and do that.
I'm not taking any chances.
But if you are in a position where the tornado is moving away from you, as it was in this case, you could see downtown in the distance, the tornado moving towards downtown was moving away from Stephen. So he was not in great danger at this point. Now, if he had been a mile further south when he pulled off the road, it would have been an entirely different story.
Right, no Stephen, no camera at that point.
Right.
That's right.
Right, from this vantage point, I think he was safe because he was back behind the storm. It was moving away from him.
Stephen Helmstettler, thank you so much for being with us, and thank you so much for sharing your video with us.
You bet.
Thanks, Stephen. We really appreciate it.
You bet. I'd like to also say hello to Patricia Lynn Helmstettler, my young sister who I know is watching this.
You're entitled to that after all of that
sure
tonight.
is.
That's the least you could get. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Thank you.
We're going to go out now to Suzelle Spiller, who is standing by live at Calvary Cathedral in Fort Worth. We talked earlier about, Mike mentioned that their classes are canceled tomorrow at the Academy because of some serious damage there. Suzelle, what do we have there? What do you see?
Yeah, Jane, you bet they're canceled. Just incredible damage here behind me at Calvary Cathedral International, west of downtown Fort Worth at 5th and Penn Street. This is the prayer tower, just demolished. Look at the damage there. People actually were in there when this tornado came through. Luckily, they survived. There are people up there right now looking around, surveying the damage. And take a look over here at the auditorium. Incredible damage here. People surveying this damage to see if there's anything that can be salvaged. The windows knocked out. Bricks fell down here onto the ground. You can see these incredibly large pieces of concrete that fell down. With me now is Associate Pastor Steve Arbo to tell us a little bit more about what was going on in the building when this hit.
We were really preparing to do a lot of different things. We have a Bible school that would have started at 7 o'clock. We had choir rehearsal with about 70 people that would have started at 7 o'clock. A lot of different things that would have started. So there wasn't as many people in the building at the time as could have been.
Tell me about the ladies in the prayer tower here on this first level here. Mike may be able to get a picture of that.
Okay, we had two ladies who were manning the telephones. We pray 24 hours a day, nonstop up here in the power tower. And they were manning the phones. They came on the shift at 6 o'clock, and the storm began. The walls began to move. Somebody called them saying there was a tornado. They didn't have enough time to get out. They laid on the floor, and the wall came off, sucked off, left them on the floor. They were okay. They walked out. They were fine. It was just a miracle of God that there wasn't more damage. One of our other youth pastors was right across the street in one of our other buildings, looked out the door and saw the tornado literally engulf the whole church and pass on through on the other side. And it's amazing there's this much still standing, considering it was right through the eye of the tornado.
Just incredible. Was anyone injured in the building?
As far as I know, I've only heard of one report of one person going to the hospital. There was a few other minor cuts and scrapes and stuff, but nobody damaged or hurt really bad in the damage.
Incredible, because you have like 1,000 members here, you said. Anything that can be salvaged here?
I'm sure there's probably a lot that can be salvaged out of it. Interestingly enough, we were just about to start to do some renovations in the sanctuary. Not this much, though. But I'm sure there's a lot that can be salvaged as we go through.
We've actually heard some reports of fatalities. What can you say, anything to encourage people?
Number one is just, stay calm, stay home, don't come out, don't come down. A lot of people like to look at things like this. What it may do is just upset you a whole lot, and it's better if you don't. And just keep trusting in God and keep calmness about you, keep your senses and your wits. And that's the most important thing you can do anytime you have a tragedy like this.
So you definitely will rebuild here?
Oh, yes. We're not going anywhere.
And there'll be a substitute prayer tower, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll get something up and running going just as soon as we can.
Thank you, Steve Arbor, with the Calvary International Cathedral here behind me. We can see the damage. Just incredible. And all around this area at 5th and Penn Street, I don't know if you can take a look back there, but the street lights are out. A lot of electricity is out. And the other office buildings just around this area have incredible damage. We're seeing glass and debris everywhere. And we're going to move our location in just a while and show you more of that. But just police officers here trying to work, and some people milling around from the offices who just, whose cars were damaged and they just haven't been able to get home. They just haven't been able to get out. We also heard some reports of, gas, the smell of natural gas around here. We have seen TU electric crews in the area, but once again, they're just working as hard as they can and want people to stay out of this area because it's dangerous. And if people are smelling natural gas, then you want to stay out of this area. We're just west of downtown Fort Worth. Suzelle Spiller reporting live. Back to you, Mike and Jane.
Okay, thank you very much, Suzelle. That, by the way, that other building was Cash America there. And Suzelle, we do need to tell you, and we need to let people know, it's amazing that Suzelle said that there were apparently no serious injuries in Calvary Cathedral there. The Fort Worth City Manager's Office says, though, that they do have a report now of at least 100 people being injured tonight in Fort Worth. We do have one report of a fatality, and now at least 100 people injured tonight in Fort Worth. So as Suzelle was saying, there's a lot of important work going on trying to help people in bad situations right now. So once again, they've asked people to please stay away from the damaged area in Fort Worth.
And despite all this taste of tragedy, even throughout the evening, we have witnessed from those who survived the storm in the buildings downtown, those at the church, they've maintained some degree of good humor.
Well, that guy was
all of this,
in amazingly good spirits.
It is amazing. Right now on the telephone with us is Bruce Dodds. He is in South Arlington at I-20, and actually he's at Lemon Drive and I-20. Is that correct, Mr. Dodds?
Yes, it is.
And you have seen extensive damage to second stories of homes in that neighborhood, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, they're about 5 blocks north of me, and it's the second stories are on some of them are gone. The roofs on single-story homes are collapsed in, and there's 25, 30 houses in that area that are just it just looks like a war zone up there.
Any injuries at all that you can see through the neighborhood?
I'm sorry?
Any injuries that you can see
Not
of your
that
neighbors?
I could see, but then there's been a number of ambulances and fire trucks and police in the area. It's just a total mess down here right now.
Exactly where are you for people who aren't real familiar with that area? Give us a couple of locators, please.
Okay, I'm at, if they know where Barden and Matlock is where I'm at.
Sort of central South Arlington.
Yes, sir.
Not far from where the airport is.
No, sir. In fact, we're on the west side of the airport.
Since you are so close to the airport, have you seen or heard of any damage at the airport?
No, I haven't. I haven't. We were driving up. We thought we saw a fire, and so we were driving to see what was on fire, and we saw this, and we just came back home because there's an awful lot of sightseers out looking around trying to find out what's going on.
And again, that's one thing, Jane, that we've been telling people all night, whether it's in Arlington, whether it's Lancaster, whether it's downtown Fort Worth, please let the pictures from the television tell the story for you this evening. I know that this is an interesting thing, that people want to see the damage left behind by a tornado. This is not the time to be sightseeing, and it is the wishes of the Fort Worth Police and Fire Department, as well as the police departments and the emergency officials all across North Texas, for you to please stay home. Listen on WRR Radio 101.1 Classic 101. And you can listen to us there if you don't have access to a television, or stay tuned right here on Channel 5. We will continue to broadcast straight through until we know that we have made what is necessary to be known to you this evening. And David, Jane, has just shown up back in the Weather Center. David, do you have something more? David?
What was that?
Did you have an update? I saw Krista hand you something there.
Yeah, I was just wanted to take a look at the radar once again. We don't want to forget about these storms still back to the east. Fort Worth and Dallas in the clear now, but here one cell, still a pretty strong one, coming in towards the Lake Tawakoni vicinity. Don't be surprised to get some hail and high winds and rain out of that. We're not paying close attention to those other storms, obviously. It's the tornadoes that we've been watching most closely, and this cell still a very intense one. It's moving in across the Cedar Creek Lake area towards Athens, and we do still have a tornado warning there in Henderson County. That one's still a very dangerous storm. We look back to the west, and we don't see much happening. There are a few isolated cells, and we may yet get more development later tonight, but hopefully we will have had enough rain here to cool down and stabilize the atmosphere somewhat. Maybe we won't get another round, but I can't rule that out yet. We could still see some redevelopment back to our west. Certainly at the moment, this is the cell to watch out for. Just looking back through the course of the evening, the tornadoes first began to be reported right around 6:15 to 6:30 in northwest Fort Worth, coming down right through the downtown area. Apparently, the storm lifted after moving through downtown, because we had no reports of major damage here in the Poly area or through southeast Fort Worth or Kennedale. But as the storm made it down into South Arlington, right near 360, this is where we had the second major touchdown in areas of damage reported around Barden Road, in that community just to the west of the Arlington Airport, and then on up along the I-20-360 split in that vicinity. So we had a major... We also had a power outage there once again. We're still taking power hits. There's not an immediate storm in our areas, but obviously we're getting power off and online throughout much of the area, and there's still going to be some hits there in your power. But we had the one storm that came in through Fort Worth, through the downtown area, one in Arlington, and then it evidently did some damage in the Oak Cliff area and on down towards the Wilmer-Hutchins vicinity, but it doesn't appear to have been anything like what we saw in Arlington or in Fort Worth earlier. Haven't had any ground reports from the Cedar Creek Lake area just yet of if there has been any damage there, but we'll continue to watch that. It looks like, though, our main damage is focused in those two areas, downtown Fort Worth and the corridor just to the northwest of there, and then down in the southeastern part of Arlington. Jane and Mike.
Okay, thanks very much, David. It looks like police and fire workers and rescue workers have their hands full in downtown Fort Worth right now. We just have a report of looting at the Cash America building. You saw that building just a few moments ago.
Street, right.
On 5th Street. We have reports of looting right now at the Cash America building in downtown Fort Worth. Police are obviously trying to get their arms around that situation, as well as trying to help people who are in desperate need of help tonight.
Alrighty, Jane, and what we're looking at is a live picture right now. That is the corner deli just right off of Sundance Square in downtown Fort Worth. There are obviously a lot of people who are needing a place to stay tonight because of damage either to their apartments or to their homes. Let us put up on the screen for you right now those shelters that you can go to. We do not have those yet. The Salvation Army is setting them up. Mark, just tell me in my ear what we have there. We have right there. The Salvation Army is providing emergency shelters. If you can get to a phone, dial that number. It's area code 817-332-2495. The River Oaks Shelter is at 5200 Ohio Gardens. And A.V. Cato Elementary School is being set up as an emergency shelter this evening. Of course, the Red Cross will move in, as it always does, and will set up assistance, as well as the Federal Emergency Management Agency will be moving in to assist people in the area. We're in contact with those agencies now, and we're trying to gather for you both the assistance centers as well as the shelters for you, for those of you that are going to be needing a place to stay, to get a warm meal, to get some warm and dry clothes, because there's been quite a bit of damage to some of the apartment homes near in downtown Fort Worth, and of course those that we just heard about, Jane, in Arlington over around the Arlington Airport.
As a matter of fact, on the phone with us right now is Cindy Gale. Cindy was in South Arlington. She was driving down Collins Street in South Arlington when she saw the tornado, she says. Cindy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and tell us what you saw.
I was driving down Collins. I almost stopped at a gas station there, the racetrack, and I decided to go home because I was so close. And just as I turned onto the service road of 20, lightning flashed, and there it was. It was huge. And it was on the ground. It was big, and I was like, the first thing I saw was a jack-in-the-box, so I pulled in. And, you know, the people that this storm is heading for, I mean, they've got to just get in and, you know, get inside a room that doesn't have any windows, it isn't on an outside wall. The people at the jack-in-the-box didn't know what to do.
Did you tell them?
Oh, yeah.
Well, what happened then?
Get in the walk-in, get in the walk-in, you know.
Right. Were there several people in there? I mean, what did you all do?
There were about 4 employees, and there was a couple there with their little child, and the mother was concerned that the child was going to get a cold, and it's like, look, it's better a cold than getting killed by a tornado.
So did you all go in and get in the walk-in then?
Yeah, we went in the walk-in, and it was really quick. I mean, it was loud, it sounded like a train, and then all of a sudden it was over.
What kind of damage was left after the storm went by?
The jack-in-the-box didn't really have that much damage. The newspaper stands were turned over. It was dark. There wasn't any power. The real damage I saw was really across the street.
What was there?
The mobile station was gone.
That's the mobile, I think, that someone reported to us earlier that they said was totally destroyed.
Yeah,
how far away from
it was gone.
How far away from the tornado, the funnel, would you say you were, and for how long could you see it?
I was about a quarter mile away. If it was at, people have been saying it was over on Matlock, and if it was there, I was about a quarter mile away. And I saw it just long enough to pull in and get inside.
Well, we've had reports tonight, before you called, we've had reports from other eyewitnesses who said that in South Arlington there have been several homes, that the roofs are collapsed and the second floors of homes have been torn off. And so this collaborates what we've heard from other eyewitnesses and what David said earlier. There apparently was then a tornado that went through South Arlington tonight.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Cindy, for calling us. We appreciate it.
And right now we want to go to Suzelle Spiller. She is at the corner of Summit and 5th Street in downtown Fort Worth. Of course, she's right near the Calvary Baptist Church, which took a direct hit from this tornado. And you're out right now in front of the Summit building. Is that correct, Suzelle?
That's correct, Mike. Right across from Calvary Cathedral International. Take a look at this office building right here behind me. Take a look at that. Just incredible damage there. We even have a man in there trying to go through his office. Fortunately, he wasn't in there when the storm hit, but you can see just demolished here at the Summit building when this tornado came through here. With me now is Louis Zabata, who works here in the Summit building. Louis, tell me just a little bit about what happened and what you see.
Well, everything is very quiet. All of a sudden it started raining. My computer went off. The lights went out. I reached down to pick up my flashlight, and when I did that, the plate glass broke. Everything went flying over my head. Just had a little bit of glass on me, and I just prayed to the good Lord and stayed behind that big desk that I have. Thank goodness it's a big one.
It was a miracle. You said you just bent down at the right time.
At the right time, because I looked at my desk just now, and there's plate glass in my chair and in the printers and everything, which would have hit me if I'd have been sitting upright.
Absolutely. Now let's take a look at your vehicle back here, this black one. Wow, what incredible damage. Tell us, how are you going to get home?
I'm going to ask my daughter to come by and get me later tonight. She should be on the way. She'll probably have a hard time getting through the different blockage, but she's familiar with the area, so I hope she can get here pretty soon.
Absolutely. You think that's a total loss there?
No, I don't think so. I think, like nowadays they can fix everything.
Yeah.
So the most important thing, of course, is that everybody, there was 5 of us in the building at the time, and there's not a glass standing anywhere in the building. The big plate glasses, everything went down. The roof went off, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, so just incredible, and I'm very lucky that no one was injured in your building. But you're one of the people, just like there are a lot of people like Lewis, who are just stranded down here.
We're stranded down here. Tom, which is the other gentleman walking around right now, is also stranded. The other guys have had their wives come by and pick them up already. The phones were down for a long while, so we couldn't get to the phones and get in touch with anybody. My daughter works in Dallas, and she saw the tornado as she was driving in.
Now, you are former Fort Worth City Councilman. Can you tell me, have you ever seen anything like this in all your life?
The only times that I ever saw it, of course, when it hit Meacham Field in the North Fort Worth several years back.
Now, also, just, after serving on the City Council, what do you think the damages are here, and how will the city be dealing with this?
Let me say this. I'm very proud, again, of our public safety people. They're out here, and they're here in Groves. The police department, the fire department have responded beautifully. I'm real proud of what they're doing. And I'm hoping they'll secure the area, and I understand they are, so I won't be able to stay here if I wanted to.
Right, absolutely, and they're working to do that right now. Thank you so much, Louis Sabata, for talking with us. Yes, they are working to secure the area. Mark, as we wrap up, we can show you back over here. I don't know if Mike can get a look at some of the emergency vehicles there on the bridge, just trying to get people. This is a very volatile area right now, just trying to get people out of the way and trying to get things secure, trying to get lights back on, and also working with TU Electric and Gas here is working with those utilities, also trying to get those back on. And like I said, we're right across from the Calvary International Cathedral right here, where this prayer tower was damaged, where two people were actually inside on the bottom level right there. You can see the damage at this street corner is just incredible. And beyond that even is the Cash America building, where earlier we reported there were some reports of looting. That's another thing that the emergency workers here and police, of course, are trying to control and trying to keep that kind of thing under control. And reporting live, I'm Suzelle Spiller, NBC5. Back to you in the studio.
All right, Suzelle, thank you. And we want to add, of course, here that there are many shelters that are being set up. As we said before, the Red Cross is responding. In fact, the Red Cross is setting up a shelter at the Will Rogers Complex. There's a very large complex on University, about at 7th Street in Fort Worth. If you are needing a place to stay tonight, needing food, you need warm clothing, whatever, you can go there. The Red Cross, again, setting up at the Will Rogers Complex for a shelter tonight. Also, the Salvation Army at the River Oak Shelter, that's 5200 Ohio Gardens, and also A.V. Caddo Elementary School is setting up. If you need help to find some place to stay tonight, you can directly contact at this moment the Salvation Army, area code 817-332-2495.
Okay, David, while we're relaying that information about the shelters that are being set up, there certainly are a lot of people in need of it tonight. What is the status of the storms right now? What do you have at this point?
Again, it's all out of Fort Worth and out of Dallas. We've still got some pretty good storms here, eastern Kaufman County and extending on up towards Lake Tawakoni into the Quinlan area and moving across the lake. But the main area of concern remains this one storm coming in across the dam there down at Cedar Creek Lake. And it appears that the most volatile portion of the storm, where the hook appears to be, is passing to the south of Athens. That's good news because that's the largest town in the county. But we may have had some damage. We don't have any confirmation yet, but some of the communities here down to the south of the lake around Malakoff, Star Harbor, those areas certainly were in the path of the storm. It is now moving on down towards the southeast. It may get closer to Palestine than to Athens, but certainly a very dangerous storm. We do still have warnings in effect. Take a look at the county map and you can see the warnings that are now in effect. No tornado warnings for Dallas or Tarrant County, but flash flood warnings continue. Some of our weather watchers have called in. There have been a few reports in excess of 2.5 inches of rain, and we will probably get some totals even higher than that. So there's a lot of high water. The creeks are still rising in some areas, and it seems without fail, when we have heavy rain events, we have someone driving into high water and they have to be rescued, or worse, they lose their life. So don't let that happen to you. At night, do not ever try to drive into high water you don't know the depth of. We do still have severe thunderstorm warnings out here to the east over in the Hunt County area and on to the east into Wood and Rains County, some strong storms still. While the tornado warning is officially still in effect in Navarre County, the storm itself is just about to ease out of the county, and it's primarily Henderson County that is under the tornado warning at this point. So that is still the most dangerous storm. There could be renewed development later back to the west. At this point, there is no sign of any organized activity taking place out there. We'll continue to watch it, though, just in case.
All right, thanks very much, David. One of the places, of course, that has been hardest hit tonight is South Arlington, down around I-20 and Collins. Jason Varela is near a post office at I-20 and Collins right now, South Arlington. Jason, what do you see? What have you seen this evening?
Well, I've moved from the post office to the building right next to it. I guess it's a Warefeld building, and you walk around the back side of it, and the whole back side of the building is gone. It's been demolished.
The whole back side of the post office?
No, it's the building next to the post office. From what I understand, the post office... Are you still there?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. The post office, I understand, was the roof fell in the front of it. I can see that. But the building next to it, I guess, is a welfare building, and it is demolished. The back side of it's completely gone. It looks like, I hate to say it, but something like in Oklahoma City. It's terrible. Next to that is another warehouse building, and there's trucks turned over to, I guess, their roof caved in. Driving to here, I saw planes turned over at the airport. There's two gas stations that looked like they had a duel with them, which could throw much more debris at each other. It's terrible here.
Jason?
Highway 20 is a joke. There is no movement on it at all. There's trucks you can see are turned over. It's
both ways.
I don't know if
Both
it was
directions?
just one storm or if it was just high winds, but it's just terrible what happened here.
Jason, have you seen a lot of ambulances around that area? Have you seen injured people, or is everything you've seen so far just damage to property?
Oh, there are fire trucks, ambulances everywhere around here. Police are everywhere. It's I guess they're spread too thin because they're not even at the two buildings that I'm at right now. I can see lights. There's a big power lines behind me, and I guess there's a crew looking at one of these power lines because it seems to be completely down. So, but I mean, there's this. It's incredible.
All right. Thank you very much, Jason, for calling us tonight. As we've said, there are a lot of people in need of help tonight. There are a lot of people who don't have homes at this point. The Red Cross, the Salvation Army, other groups are calling in to tell us where to relay this information. We're going to show you right now where you can go if you need help this evening.
And of course, the Red Cross is setting up at the Will Rogers Complex that's just west of downtown Fort Worth. Those of you who don't know where the Will Rogers Complex is, it's north of I-30 on University, right there at 7th Street. A huge complex in there. You go into that complex and you'll be able to find the Red Cross. They'll direct you when you get there. Also, the Salvation Army. Call them. Area code 817, if you have access to a phone, 332-2495. The River Oaks Shelter is open at 5200 Ohio Gardens. Also, the A.V. Caddo Elementary School is open for shelters now. Again, the Red Cross will be providing a place for you to stay this evening, as well as providing with warm blankets and warm food. There will be other agencies that are out soon to provide not just meals, but also warm clothing and a place to stay. The Federal Emergency Management Association will be moving, or agency actually, that's called FEMA, as we refer to it in the news speak all the time. They will be moving in here. Agents from there will be moving in here to take care not just of businesses with small business loans, help people with the damage to their homes. So there will be help on the way for those of you that are in need. So if you'll stay tuned, we'll help direct you to the best numbers and the best locations to get the help that you need.
Okay. We have a couple of other pieces of information that we want to pass along to people, and then we have a pretty interesting interview, apparently. More than 100 people have been injured tonight. We do know that in Fort Worth. That's just in Fort Worth, and we do have one report of a fatality tonight. We want to go to an interview now where a person says that he drove through this storm, drove through the tornado. I believe his name is Trace. Is that correct?
Trace Riley.
Trace
is that
Riley.
correct?
Let's go ahead, and if we can, let's talk. Trace, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, what is your story? What in the world happened?
Well, sitting there driving back from a workout at the Fort Worth Club, and I come right, I see a bunch of debris in there, and I'll tell you, it was the scariest thing I think I've ever been through. I came right up on the Cash America. I'm passing Cash America, fixing to cross the bridge, and a lot of debris starting to hit my car, and it spins me around, and I'm starting to face the other direction. Lightning struck, and it lighted up, and there was the most evil, blackest tornado. I just floored it, and somehow, some way, I went 4 blocks back the way I went with the tornado right behind me, and somebody out there hit me, spun me totally around. I should have died then. Of a big van, and my license plate's still laying out in the intersection somewhere. And I did a full 360, and I kept on going, right back to the Fort Worth Club, and bam, the tornado just followed me the whole way back, 200 feet behind me.
Man, that is incredible. It's amazing that you lived through that experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. My cousin was behind me in his four-wheel drive, and it picked his car up on two wheels, and don't ask me how he followed me back, but he got there too.
So both of you survived this storm, driving through downtown. Now, we saw what Cache America looks like. We saw what Calvary Temple looked like there with the prayer tower destroyed, and that's exactly where you were when this thing hit.
I was right there, right about 20 to 30 feet before it hit the Cache America.
That's an unbelievable story. You know, I don't know if anyone else has had a dream before about being chased by a tornado, and that's like a nightmare come true.
Oh, you think you see it on the Discovery Channel until you stare it right down the pipeline, and I told myself, I said, I'm just not going to die today. I'm not going to die. I'm not going to die.
Well, your will may have saved you. What we're looking at right now as you're talking to us, Trace, is a picture of Sundance Square in downtown Fort Worth, where the streets are blocked off, emergency vehicles are at every corner, and it just looks like a debris litter field. And again, this looks much like downtown Nashville after the tornado hit there, Jane. If you remember a couple of years back, when the tornado hit right smack dab in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, this is the kind of scene that was left afterwards. And it is just an absolute mess. It's a war zone in downtown Fort Worth right now. And again, that's where Trace Riley was.
How fast do you think you were having to go, and what were you thinking at this time? I mean, were you scared out of your wits?
I was, yeah, and you know, you fight for your life, and I think I was. You can't, when your adrenaline's pumping that hard, you can't go fast enough. It feels like you're doing 20 miles an hour, and I was probably doing 60. So, yeah, but I just wanted to pass that on to y'all, and I think, you know, just God saved a bunch of people tonight.
No injuries except your nerves.
Yeah, well, except it hit my head. I hit my head, and it's still a little bit sore, but oh well, I'll live.
Godspeed. We're glad you're okay, Trace.
Right.
Thank you for calling us.
Trace Riley, thank you so much, and what a story to tell he will have to tell both his grandkids and those beyond.
Amazing.
Okay, David's not quite ready yet. Before we want to go over there, David's going to be coming and bring us an update. But I want you to take a peek right here, because what you're looking at, where those cars are off onto the upper left-hand part of your screen, Jane, that's the Fort Worth Public Library there. That's the parking lot right behind the Milan Gallery and some of the food places. And what we're looking at right almost dead center is the corner deli, where we had the people where they walked into the stand-up refrigerator, the walk-in refrigerator, that all of the customers, the owner of that hustled everybody in there, and nobody was hurt. If you can imagine looking at this, where it looks like a bomb has gone off, and not one person in her restaurant was hurt because she walked them in there. And of course, right next to there is Edda's Place, which is a small boutique hotel that is right next. And I'm helping people locate where this is, but the right next there is the Caravan of Dreams. So this whole area downtown is just really screwed up, quite frankly.
I'm really kind of amazed tonight at hearing the quick thinking of these people who thought to go into walk-in freezers, refrigerators, things like that. I don't know, maybe if you were in that situation, maybe it would be logical and maybe you'd do it quickly.
Well,
but
David's
it was
been
amazing
preaching this to people for a long time.
People did that tonight under that kind of stress.
Yeah, well, that's why we always stress, have a plan. Think about it beforehand, so you don't have to, on the spur of the moment, decide what to do. Wherever you are, at work, at your church, at home, you should know where to go in the event of a storm. Think it out beforehand, so if the occasion ever arises, you can go immediately without having to think it through. And obviously, a lot of people have done just that. If you're going to live in Tornado Alley, as we do, you need to be prepared. The folks still need to be prepared down here in Henderson County. Still a very fierce storm to the south of Athens. No really good sign of rotation at this point, so that is certainly good news. It's still an intense storm, probably a hail producer, high winds. It could possibly still spin out a tornado, but at this point it doesn't look as dangerous as it did half an hour ago. Other storms still developing along the Hunt-Van Zant County line, extending from just north of Maybank on up towards Wills Point. These will head eastward through Canton and Grand Saline over the next few hours, but no indication of any kind of circulation within these storms at the present time. Let's recap some of the warnings that are currently in effect. We still have the flash flood warnings in both Tarrant and Dallas counties, but you'll notice all the tornado warnings have ended. That last radar image we showed you, the rotation appears to be falling apart to the south of Athens. They do still remain under a severe thunderstorm warning there in Henderson County, as well as up here in Hunt and Rains counties. If we take a look back through the evening, you could see those storms developing, swinging through. This was the big tornado producer, and it kind of falls apart as it crosses out of Dallas and into Kaufman County. But this one's still a very fierce storm, as are the ones up here to the south of Greenville, moving eastward from Lake Tawakoni. We may still see some development up here in North Dallas, some off to the north of McKinney, up towards Anna. Some light rain showers may drift into Fort Worth, but I see nothing heavy developing at the present time in our area. But look at the rain that has fallen through the evening, a belt of very heavy rain in North Fort Worth and then southward down into Arlington. Look at some of the Weather Watcher reports from around the area. Euless, 2.5 inches of rain. Southeast Arlington, 2.45, although we had another report from central Arlington, 0.23 of an inch of rain. You can see how much it can vary in a short span, just whether or not you are right in the path of the strongest part of the storm. About 3/4 of an inch from Benbrook out towards Aledo, Irving with 1.5 inches, Richardson just over an inch. So there have been some heavy rains, and there may still be more. Certainly there's high water rising in some of the area creeks, so we do remain under a tornado watch and flash flood warnings. We did make it up to 82 this afternoon. That helped to fuel some of the violently developing storms. But if you look at the big picture now, the storms seem to be diminishing within this tornado watch area. Still some good ones along the Red River up into Oklahoma. But the big cluster, the heaviest storms, are shifting eastward, losing the circulation, but still maintaining themselves as strong storms. So we have a severe thunderstorm watch that extends all the way over to the Louisiana and Arkansas border. Residents there in East Texas will still have to watch for hail and high winds, but the threat of tornadoes appears to be diminishing. Now, officially, this tornado watch runs until 10 p.m., so we'll watch it very closely, but we've only got less than an hour to go, and hopefully that watch will expire without any more tornadoes.
David, quick question for you. Did it look like to you this afternoon, late this afternoon, that conditions were ripe for this type of thing?
If you were watching first at 4, we were on then. Already the Weather Service had issued a tornado watch, indicating, yes, indeed, the conditions are ripe. I'll have to give some real credit to the National Weather Service staff for putting this tornado watch out early in the afternoon. At that point, there were just a few isolated cells developing way out here to the west, but we had the tornado watch in effect, and we had a tornado warning issued by the time rotation was beginning to form, but before it had reached into downtown Fort Worth. So the warning system, I feel, was working very well. The National Weather Service had us under a watch. As soon as rotation was spotted, they put a warning out on that. We had it on the air live at about 6:15, just before the damage was reported there in the downtown Fort Worth area. So it seems to me that everything that could have been done was done from a warning perspective.
A good thing for all of us.
Sure
Thanks
is.
a lot, David.
Thanks. And right now on the telephone with us is Dr. Bryce Beyer. He's over at Osteopathic Medical Center in Fort Worth. For those of you who don't know, that's west of downtown Fort Worth, almost immediately north and west by a block of the Will Rogers Complex, where the Red Cross is setting up that shelter tonight. And Dr. Beyer, you treated some of the injured that came in this evening. Can you tell us the extent of injuries?
Yes, Mike. We've had 16 to 20 trauma victims come through. We've had one crush injury, a gentleman who was in a local barber shop. We've had one injury in a truck that rolled in the tornado that was flipped over and over. But most of them have just been severe lacerations, cuts, bruises, sprains, so forth.
Have you seen a lot of cuts? We were talking about